What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel. For today's video, we're going to be checking out the Transformers Legacy Evolution Deluxe Class Devcon. Now, according to the design team, this figure is a heavy retool of the Studio Series 86 Blurr, and I don't know about yourselves, but I regard that as unfortunately being the weakest 86 movie figure, so was never expecting any kind of greatness to come from it until Devcon, because this figure is a word that I don't tend to use too often, and it's terrific. This guy is so terrific, awesome to look at, and finally a Devcon figure which actually resembles how he looked back in the show, because some of the past figures for the most part have been a few head swaps with a new colour scheme, and you know, this guy showed up for one episode, was a complete badass, then flew off with Slazado and was never before seen again. So it's great to see him get this kind of singular deluxe treatment and make him as accurate as can be. So here we have him in the robot mode. First up, I'm just going to compare him to his actual character design, and like I just banged on about a second ago, near enough spot on. So awesome to get this guy looking how he did back in the old days. But as we check out the details, you know, a wicked looking face sculpt. I like this piece here at the top, which has been fully painted front, side and back, which, talking of, no hollow head syndrome. So this guy is completely filled in, which is super nice, and the plastic they've used is some of the best. You know, the blue in some angles looks like it's painted, but I can assure you for the most part it's just cast, so that's really awesome. You know, the chest design looks wicked, lots of sculpting in surface detail for the shoulders, the biceps and the forearms, and you know, this whole region looks great. The only areas which I think are a borrow or a reuse from Blurr would be the thighs and maybe the feet. Besides that, completely new, so that's wicked. And even here for the shins, I mean, check out that detail. Considering the engineering is very similar to Blurr, he still does suffer from this kind of hollowness in the base of the leg. You know, I wish maybe they could have found a way to have filled this in, but in the grand scheme of things, I'm not going to complain, because as I said, this guy's near enough flawless, and even the back of the legs too, completely redesigned. Now, I want to talk about the backpack, because I know it may bother some of you guys, but you've got to bear in mind, I don't think this design was ever intended to be a transforming action figure, because in the show, the robot mode was kibbleless, and then he'd transform into a super sleek Cybertronian jet. So to see them get it this compact, honestly, I'm going to take it, because I don't think there was a way around it. And even this here, got some really nice detail, kind of this ass thruster as well, which is kind of cool. Now, in terms of his articulation, we do get a ball joint, so a bit of wiggle here at the top. It can also look left to right. The shoulders can go out to the sides, forwards and backwards. Bicep rotation, single jointed elbows. Unfortunately, nothing out of the wrists due to how he transforms, but we do get a completely uncompromised waist joint, which is awesome. The hips can kick forwards that far, back to that far, out to the sides, a bit of thigh rotation, 90 there at the knee, and because this is kind of the Blurr engineering, the ankles do work the same, so they can go left to right and can also kind of click forwards and backwards. So articulation wise as well, for a bounty hunter, this guy can definitely pull out all the moves that I'd want him to. Now, in terms of his accessories, he does come with quite a few, so we get this kind of iconic silver blaster, which he had in the show. Now, I think this was kind of a permanent fixture. It was more of an arm cannon than a blaster, but you can use it as a blaster if you wanted to. Very nicely sculpted, nicely painted, and there are also a pair of these red thrusters, which are more intended for the jet mode, but you can smack them onto this blaster to kind of give you that Evo fusion gimmick, or smack them onto the back of the figure to make him look like he's got a few thrusters. So yeah, weapon wise as well, definitely ain't slacking in that department. Now, as we jump into a few comparisons, here we have him alongside his kind of mold mate, that being the Studio Series 86 Blurr, and like I said previously, you know, this is such an extensive retool that it's pretty much a brand new figure, and had the design team not even mentioned Blurr, honestly guys, I don't think I'd ever make the comparison between the two. As you can see, it's literally just the feet and the thighs which are the same. Besides that, he is completely brand new, and thank the heavens that he is, because let's all face it, if this guy had the same arm kibble as Blurr, I don't think he would have been as awesome as he is. And this is how the back of them stack up. So again, you know, very different in regards to how the kibble is handled. Just overall, Devcon is a much better, so much more solid release when in comparison here to Blurr. So in some ways, I kind of hope that they take this mold and retool it again, kind of retooling Inception to give us Blurr, because we need to get rid of some of this arm kibble that this figure unfortunately has. Here we have him alongside his Autobot blue buddy, that being Smokescreen, and I guess the only character that we'd need to kind of complete this trio would be a Slazado. You know, it would have been awesome had they found a way to have given us a mini kind of rubbery figure, much like they did with Crimzeek a few years back, but you know what, it's not a big deal, and these guys look great next to each other. I mean, they are such awesome companion pieces, but I tell you what, this Devcon has kind of made me wish that we can maybe see a new version of Smokescreen, because despite this being awesome, you know, as the years have gone on, we've seen what Hasbro can do in terms of updates, and I personally would love to see a slightly more toon accurate version of Smokescreen. But as it stands, you know, still, these guys look terrific alongside each other. And just to try and stay true to the story, here we have him alongside Astrotrain, which, correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm sure Devcon was in pursuit of Astrotrain as well as the Conehead. So yeah, it's kind of cool to finally get a proper Devcon to go up against this big guy. Again, continuing on with some of those episode comparisons, here we have Conehead Dirge, which I think is set to see a reissue in this next wave of Legacy, which is awesome. And the comparison standard, Earthrise Optimus Prime. Now, despite this guy having a banging robot mode, as you guys all know, he's a transformer, so he does transform into a jet. So let's get stuck into his transformation. So first of all, you're going to want to take the hand and just bring this whole section here all the way down. Now, the reason why he doesn't have any kind of wrist rotation is because he does have this pin shooting right through the wrist. So there's sadly just not enough room to add that joint in there. But rotate here at this section and then bring this piece up. And I guess it kind of reveals a thruster, which technically he could use in the robot mode. So, you know, maybe if he's firepower, his weapons fail him, he can just flip these bad boys in and take out some Decepticons with these, which is pretty awesome. But do the exact same here for this side. So, you know, just bring that panel down, rotate this section here all the way around and snap it into place. Now, personally, I'd recommend to take the shoulders and hinge them out to the sides. So we're then going to come here to the backpack, detach and extend all of this and just leave it resting there for now because we're going to work on the legs. So take the toes, hinge them here all the way up. Open these pieces up exactly like you would on the Studio Series 86 Blurr, and then just snap these panels together. With the arms kind of splayed open, it allows us to tuck the knees and the thighs into this rear of the jet, so we can just snap that into place, come here to the underside, and these little tabs are going to smack themselves into those slots, so snap them in there, and then snap that into place. Do the same here for this side, so snap all of that in, come around here to the front. These little slots here are going to find themselves smacking into these tabs, so just lock those in there. Do the exact same here for this side, and for some finishing touches, basically just snap this in, take this panel and snap that over the top, and bang, there we have Devcon in his base Cybertronian jet mode. And the reason I say base is because I just want to compare these two without any of the additional weapons covering the skeleton, just to truly showcase the difference between the two. And as you guys can see, I mean, despite Devcon using a few steps of the conversion, which may seem similar to Blurr, they look so different in their vehicle modes. And to be honest, had I not flipped them to the underside, would you guys ever be able to tell they were retools and partials of each other? Honestly, I don't think you would. So again, it does just seem like the feet are exactly the same. Even this piece of the hinge, despite it looking the same, is completely different because we don't have a port here for Blurr, so that's really awesome. This is what they look like from a side perspective, and I'd argue, despite the undercarriage kibble looking similar, it looks a little nicer here on Devcon because the arms kind of conceal that gap. It's nowhere near as noticeable as it was on Blurr, and here is what they both look like from the rear. So yeah, very different in regards to how their vehicles end up. Much better, in my opinion. Now, as we very quickly go through the details, you know, the surface texture looks awesome. In some ways, I think they had the intent of making this canopy opening and closing because, to me, it does look like that was supposed to be on a hinge joint. You know, for whatever reason, maybe it was scrapped due to budget, but it would have been cool had Slizardo been able to pack in there, or, you know, even if they just included as Slizardo to begin with. But very nice detail. I like all of these kind of cybernetic components that we have here. And in addition to the arms, which become these thrusters, you can also smack on those red thrusters to truly recreate his look from the old show, which I think is awesome. And yeah, that's what he looks like from the underside. So in terms of a few additional comparisons, his partner in crime, the Deluxe class Earthrise smokescreen. So for a Deluxe class, do you know what? Doesn't look terrible at all. Pretty substantial scale. Exactly what you'd expect. The Leader class / Voyager Earthrise Optimus Prime. So pretty decent in terms of his scale. Earthrise / soon-to-be Legacy Evolution Voyager class Dirge. So yeah, there's quite a big difference between the two, but that's exactly what you'd expect from a Voyager to Deluxe ratio. And then finally, the Siege / Earthrise Leader class Astrotrain, which again I think is one of the Decepticons that he was in pursuit of in the episode. Now for reverse transformation, first up, just remove the little thrusters. Then what you're going to want to do is take the arms and just attach those just like this. We can then take the canopy, open this whole section up and just fold this in upon itself and basically just loosen this here up from the tabs. We can then spread the arms out just to get them out of the way, as we're going to come here to the underside, detach the feet here away from the base, and then fully extend the knees out until they do click. What we can then do is split these pieces in half, snap those over the top, fold the feet down, and do the same here for this side. Love the way the whole backpack kind of compresses, so it is multi-hinged, and then these little tabs do lock into the back. What you can then do is take these hands, rotate the thrusters inwards to reveal the robot mode fists, which is kind of cool, and do the exact same here for this side. And there you have Devcon back in his robot mode. So a very simple yet incredibly effective transformation, which is so surprising considering how accurate he is in both robot and jet mode. And wrapping up on this review for the Legacy Evolution Deluxe Class Devcon. Do you know, I don't think this character has ever had a good figure of himself until now. This Legacy version is pretty much top tier as far as Deluxes go. This guy is awesome, and to think he is a retool of 86 Blurr is just mind-blowing, because you guys saw in particular with the comparisons, he looks nothing like Blurr. Besides, you know, a tiny bit of parts reused in the thighs and the feet, the awesome robot mode just looks amazing. The transformation is probably one of the most simplistic yet effective ones I've seen for the generation line in such a long time, because the jet mode too is pretty much flawless, which is something I wouldn't expect to say for a partial slash retool. And do you know, despite us not having a good version of Devcon up until this point, I definitely think this guy's been worth the wait, because just such a flawless release all round. Great articulation, great plastic, great accessories, and probably one of my favourite Legacy Deluxe figures to date, in all honesty. So I'd love to get your thoughts down in the comment section below. What do you guys think here of Devcon? Is he as good in your eyes as he is in mine? And until my next video, I'll see you then. Thanks for watching.